college football attendance, which last season suffered its biggest drop in 34 years after declining for 4 straight seasons, following a similar trajectory to The Walking Dead. I've literally never seen it, it's just what I've heard. Experts have suggested a bunch of reasons why fans may be choosing to stay home on game day. Rising ticket prices, the availability of more games on TV, the headache of traffic and parking, games that last more than 4 hours, and naps. Yeah. I added that last one. It's been a long few months, and I think we deserve naps. Yeah. The downward trend in attendance is pretty universal, although there are some exceptions. Alabama, for instance, saw their attendance tick up slightly between 2013 and 2017, which is why it was kind of odd when Nick Saban used a press conference 2 weeks ago to say this.
I was a little disappointed that there weren't more students at the last game. And I think we're trying to address that. I don't think they're entitled to anything either. And me personally, I think it ought to be first come, first served. And if they don't want to come to the games, they don't have to come. But I'm sure there's enough people around here that like to go to the games and would like for them to come too because they support the players.
Real quick, Darren Ravel wants you to know that bottle earned Coke a free $1.5 million in advertising. He ran the numbers. To be fair, there were a lot of empty seats in the student section at that Alabama game, but I assume that had something to do with the fact that they were playing Louisiana Lafayette, who's an impressive 0-45 against SEC teams all time. But Saban clearly took issue with people not showing up, specifically students, and it turns out he wasn't alone.
I think the fans are getting so entitled there at Alabama, specifically the students. Listen, as a student, you've done nothing to win all these titles, okay? I don't care if you're playing Louisiana whoever, if you're playing Hoover High School.
Sorry, Tim, it's actually Louisiana whomever. Minor note. It seems odd to me that kids at big football schools wouldn't want to go to games. I've mentioned before that my alma mater got rid of the football program after my first year, and I've always regretted not going to a college that had A, a big football program, and B, a third bar to go to. Nothing against Dizzy Lizard and Nacho Mamas. So I was curious to find out why students might not want to go, and it turns out many of them did. They just couldn't get a ticket.
I mean, at this point, I'm going to actually throw this one back on Nick Saban himself because he only gives us 3 games a season in our student package. And Louisiana was not one of the ones that I had. So at the end of the day, I'm just like you on Saturday, a regular fan trying to get a ticket. And Pensacola was calling my name.
Pensacola was calling my name is a great excuse for skipping an Alabama game, and also my favorite Jimmy Buffett song. So it does seem like Saban has a point, that there are students out there who want to go and should be able to. He's just misguided in directing his frustration about that at students. Most schools use a super convoluted lottery system that ranks students based on different factors. They often favor students who are upperclassmen, or students that show school spirit by arriving early to games, or students who don't set couches on fire after wins. Some of the criteria make sense, like the couch thing. But I feel like prioritizing seniors is backwards. You shouldn't make kids wait until they're about to leave school to make going to games part of their Saturday routine. You gotta get them hooked early. Ask one drug dealer. But thanks to these lottery systems, even if students follow every step of the process perfectly, which you know they aren't going to because beer, that still doesn't guarantee them a ticket. Take Clemson, for example, a national power that serves as an inspirational story that you can rise to the top of your profession, even with a name like Dabo. Clemson has reworked their ticket policy a number of times, but in 2017, they distributed about 10,000 free tickets to students. But in order to get those, students had to enter into the lottery, which was a pain in the butt, and then, if they wanted to boost their chances, they could pay to be a member of IPTAY, a club that raises money for Clemson athletic programs. But you can understand why someone might not want to do that, since it makes those free tickets not free, and also, you have to say IPTAY. This led to subpar attendance, not because students didn't want to go, but because they couldn't get a ticket.
I was really upset because I love Clemson football, and the Auburn game is going to be really good. Honestly, I think that was everyone's reaction. A lot of people were really disappointed.
Thankfully, that student says her dorm is close to the stadium, so she'll be watching that game from her window.
From her of. It's like Romeo and Juliet, except Juliet just wants to watch a football game. It's crazy to me that a ready and willing audience is right there in front of you, and you can't figure out how to get them in the building. Somehow you get them to go to class. This part should be easy. The students are understandably frustrated.
I did everything right. I went on early and I still didn't get a ticket, and I heard of multiple people that logged on right at 5 and got it. So it's just frustrating to not be able to, especially since we are like the most loyal customers to Clemson. We go here.
She goes there! I mean, that really sums up the point nicely. I'm using a lot of words. She did it succinctly. Clemson did hear the student complaints, though, and in an attempt to fix the situation, they changed their policy again this year. There are still about 10,000 tickets available to students, but now 3,600 of those are available for purchase in a season ticket package that costs as much as $280. It's like one of those awesome college football chants where Clemson goes, "What do you want?" And the students respond, "A less complicated lottery system." And Clemson goes, "So make the free tickets cost money instead? You got it!" And that's the other issue that's making it hard for a lot of students to go to games: money. The thing nobody has in college. According to Onward State, Oregon, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and USC have the most expensive student tickets in the country. And 3 of those 4 schools have seen their attendance drop since 2013. The only one who saw attendance rise was Ohio State. But, full disclosure, studies have shown that a lot of schools fudge their numbers to make attendance seem higher when it's not that high. Not that we have any reason not to trust what Ohio State tells us. I was just mentioning it, you know. Even Wisconsin, a state that doesn't offer much to do except watch football and cheese, they saw its lowest attendance numbers at Camp Randall in 13 years last season. They decided the way to correct the issue was to raise the cost of a student ticket from $24 to $27. Michigan, the gold standard when it comes to attendance, sold about 8,000 fewer student tickets in 2014 than the previous year, which coincided with a price hike and the Wolverines going 5-7. Colleges realize that students are poor, right? Because like they made them that way. But even at schools where student tickets are inexpensive or free, many times the cost of attending games is essentially just baked into tuition in the form of mandatory fees that go to the athletic department. It's one of those lines on your big long tuition bill that you don't really notice because by the time you get that far down, your eyes are blurry on account of all the stress tears. According to a 2014 story in the Washington Post, schools like Maryland, Florida State, Virginia, and Georgia Tech all charged this fee. So while Florida State distributes 16,000 student tickets, their undergraduate population is more than twice that, and every student pays the $237 yearly fee, which means they're paying for it whether they go or not, which is fine if we're talking about a gym membership. But imagine if it was something you wanted to do. That's like slipping the host at a fancy restaurant a $50 bill just so he can tell you they're fully booked. So what's the answer? Like we said, there are a lot of factors contributing to people not attending games, but what if we eliminated one of them for students at least? What if, and hear me out, all students can go to games for free? That's right. Yeah. Thank you. Show up to the game and get a ticket till all the seats are full. You get a ticket. You get a ticket. Everyone gets a ticket. Studio audience, reach under your seats and you will find a free ticket to a college football game. Just kidding, no you won't because you're not students. Are you paying attention? We're not at the game. Look, colleges have empty seats they want filled, and a bunch of people who want to sit in them live very close by and are probably already drunk in the parking lot right outside. I know giving things away for free sounds scary because athletic departments have bills to pay, so let's go ahead and examine some typical college football program expenses. You have to pay coaches, right? And according to USA Today, 82 of 130 FBS head coaches are making at least $1 million this year, and 24 are making at least $4 million. Someone is going to screen grab what's happening right now and use it on the internet. Then, of course, there's travel expenses. According to CBS Sports, Ohio State spent $4.4 million on 2 trips during the college football playoff after the 2014 season, so that's also worth considering. Then there's the basics for the players, like the $45 million spent by Tennessee on a building with a 2-story weight room because you can't put a price on going 0-8 in the SEC East. Or the $55 million Clemson spent on a complex for football players that includes the 3 pillars of any successful football team: a miniature golf course, a movie theater, and a barbershop. But really, this is about the athletes who lay it on the line every week for their schools. The school needs to charge for tickets so that money can go toward the average salary of a college quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, linebacker, safety, cornerback. Don't forget offensive linemen, defensive linemen. Gotta have a punter and a kicker. All 0. Okay, I know it sounds like a bad business practice to give things away for free, but turns out your whole thing is kind of built on it. Give the kids some tickets. It's what Nick Saban wants.